The year is 2001. The world feels a little uncertain. The fashion is questionable, and on the brand new monolithic PlayStation 2, a game launched that perfectly captured the feeling of a generation on a precipice. It was a time of baggy shorts, spiky hair, and this weirdly infectious mix of bright eyed optimism and cynical distrust. Into all that came a story about death, religion, and a love that defied a thousand-year cycle of despair. This is the story of Final Fantasy X. A quarter of a century later, 25 years ago, this game didn't just redefine what a role playing game could be, it became a cultural touchstone. It was the first in the series to feature a main story with full voice acting, turning its character from silent sprite into living, breathing people we could connect with. This wasn't just another game, it was a blockbuster event, a cinematic epic that set a new standard for storytelling in the video game. Final Fantasy X didn't just launch, it was a phenomenon. It quickly became one of the first multi-million selling giants on the PlayStation 2, shattering records and instantly becoming a must-have title for anyone who owned the console. The critics were almost in all agreement, with scores of 9 out of 10 or higher becoming the norm. It was celebrated for its incredible graphics, its fantastic music, and a story of love and friendship that forged a powerful emotional bond with players around the world. But beyond the sales and the scores, Final Fantasy X perfectly captured the edgy, uncertain vibe of the early 2000s, a time when the world itself was grappling its own cycles of conflicts and desperate search for meaning. To get the momental impact of Final Fantasy X, you have to understand the pressure Square Enix, at the time Squaresoft, was under. The company was coming off a massive success of the PlayStation 1 era, but was also reeling from the financial gut punch of the movie Final Fantasy The Spirit Within. There was a very real feeling that the next mainline game needs to be more than just good. It had to be a system seller, a statement, and a technical marvel that proved the power of the new PlayStation 2. Final Fantasy X was that statement. It was massive leap forward with the cinematic RPGs. While it still used some pre-rendered scenes, the game leaned heavily into real-time 3D environments, making the world of Spira feel more alive and dynamic than it was ever before. And there was the voice acting. For an entire generation of players, it was their first time hearing Final Fantasy characters actually speaking. Sure, some of the English voice work got cut out at the time of being a bit awkward, but for millions of us, it was absolutely revolutionary. It brought a new level of immediacy and emotional connect with the story.
You don't understand. The Crusaders won't even listen to me. And it's all because I'm just a lowly acolyte.
Don't say that. Well, I haven't been a summoner for very long myself, you see. Still, I can't put myself down every time I fail. People are depending on me. They're depending on both of
This was
us.
a new Square, a new generation of hardware, and a brand new era for RPGs. The game earned near universal praise, with examples with GameSpot calling it a remarkably well-done RPG game. With engrossing, memorable story, while Eurogamer noted it was the most intricate and consistently enjoyable Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy VI.
Listen to my story. This may be our last chance.
The game opens with one of the most iconic lines in RPG history. Listen to my story. This may be our last chance. We're thrown right in Tidus, the star blissful player of the Sanakarn Apes. His world is hyper-modern metropolis, a city dazzling lights and roaring crowds, and then in an instant, it's all gone. A colossal water-like entity known as Sin appears and reduces his home to ruins. Tidus is pulled into a vortex and wakes up in a world he doesn't recognize, Spira. He's a fish out of the water in the most literal sense. Stranded in a strange tropical land thousand years in the future, Senarkon, his home, is now a sacred ruin. This setup is brilliant because it's mirrored the player's own journey of discovery. We learn about Spira, its people, and its all-consuming terror Sin. Right alongside Tidus, he starts standing, asking all the questions we are thinking, and his confusion is our own. He soon learned that Sin is a cyclical plague, an entity that brings destruction to Spira over and over. The only hope for a brief period of peace known as the Calm is for a summoner to complete a grueling pilgrimage, obtain the final Aeon, and defeat Sin, at the cost of their own lives. And this is where Tidus meets Yuna, a young summoner from the island of Isade who is just beginning that very same faithful journey. This is where the game's unique identity, its perfect snapshot of the early 2000s, really shines. Spira is a world that feels both ancient and weirdly modern,
I promise.
blending deep spiritually with a distinct Y2K aesthetic. The character designs are a time capsule of the era's edgy pop culture. Tidus, with an asymmetrical outfit and a spiky blondie hair, looks like he just walked off set of a boy band music video. The tropical beach town vibe of places like Bisay and Kilika fits perfectly with the late 90s and early 2000s trends that was all about rave culture and kind of a carefree, sun-soaked optimism. It was a huge departure for the series. Where previous Final Fantasy games often took inspiration from medieval Europe, Final Fantasy X delved headfirst into Eastern cultures, exploring themes of death, ritual, and spirituality through its dormant faith, the Church of Jevon. This faith defined the world of Spira. Jevon dictates everything, from politics to personal conduct, all built around the belief that sin is a punishment for humanity's past sins. This creates a war's core conflict, a cycle of death and false hope, all carefully managed and perpetuated by a powerful religion institution. And even though the game was released before the war-changing event of 9/11, its theme of cyclical destruction, loss of innocence, and the dangers of blind faith will resonate deeply with audience heading into a much more anxious and politically charged decade. As Tidus joins Yuna on her pilgrimage as her guardian, the game's legendary mechanics come into play. The journey across Spira provides the backdrop of one of the most polished gameplay loops in the entire series. The battle system, known as a conditional turn-based or CTB system, was a masterstroke. Unlike the fast-paced active time battle system of older games, CTB was purely turn-based. It shows you the turn order right on the screen, letting you plan your moves with chess-like precision. But here's the real genius. You could swap party members in and out in the middle of the fight with no penalty. This simple feature completely changed how you approach a strategy. A fiend with a heavy armor shows up? Swap in Auron to break through it. A flying enemy is just out of reach? Bring in Waka with its Bliss Ball. It forced you to think about your entire 7-person party, not just the 3 on the front line. It was a system that rewarded smart planning over just smashing buttons. Character growth was handled by another beloved innovation, the Spheres grid. Instead of just leveling up, characters earn a point to move along a massive interconnected board of stat boosts and new abilities. It was like a giant skills tree and a board game rolled into one, and it offered an incredible flexibility. While each character started in their own section, you could eventually cross over, teaching Yuna black magic or making Auron faster with Tidus' abilities. It allows for a deep customization that feels rewarding, not overwhelming. Throwing the surprisingly deep and addictive Bliss Ball minigame, a while of mixed water polo and turn-based strategy, and Final Fantasy X offered a gameplay experience every bit as rich as the story. As the pilgrimage goes on, the story takes a much darker turn, and this is where Final Fantasy X cements itself as a masterpiece. The narrative evolved in a sharp, powerful critique of institutional religion, blind faith, and theocratic control. Jevon, which started off seemed like a benevolent faith offering comfort to a suffering world, is slowly revealed to be a corrupt, power-hungry machine. Church and state are one of the same in Spira, and Jevon's teachings are the law. The game brilliantly unravels this dogma through the party's own eyes. They learn that Albeth, a tech-savvy race branded as heretics by Jevon, are being persecuted just for questioning the church doctrines. The group confronts the hypocrisy of the Maesters, the leader of Jevon, who live in the luxury while preaching sacrifice. The real turning point comes when the group discovered the horrifying truth. The final Aeon isn't a divine weapon, it's a cruel trick. It created from the soul of one of the summoner's own guardian, and its victory only ensures that Sin will be reborn from the final Aeon itself, locking Spira in a cycle of death forever. This revelation transformed the story from a simple quest to save the world into a full-blown rebellion against a 1,000-year-old lie. The parties become a group of heretics hunted by the very institution they once served. The game starts asking some heavy questions. What's the cost of the hope when it's built on a lie? It is better to live a blissful ignorance or to fight through a painful truth. It paints a picture of a world where held captive by a dogma, where tradition is used as a weapon to maintain control, a theme that feels just as powerful and relevant today. The journey through Spira is one of the most memorable in all of gaming, and everyone who plays it has a story. A favorite character, a boss that drove you crazy, or the first time you actually won a Blitzball tournament. If you got your own moment of Spira, share it down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed these deep dives into classics that define a generation, think about subscribing for more. Ultimately, the engine that drives Final Fantasy X, the force that gives its power to finally break the cycle of despair, is love. The relationship between Tidus and Yuna is the emotional heart of the entire game. It starts as a story of two people from different worlds, trapped by a tragic destiny, but it's blossomed into a genuine partnership that challenged the very foundation of their reality. Tidus refused to accept Yuna's fate as a sacrifice, and Yuna is inspired by his defiance, finding his strength to forge a new path, one free from Yavim's control. The love story isn't just a side plot, it's the catalyst of Spira's liberation. 25 years on, Final Fantasy X endures not just because it's the technical leaps or polished gameplay, but because of his heart. It's a game that blends the distinct early 2000s Eki style with a story of incredible depth and emotional maturity. It told a cinematic, deeply human story about fighting back against despair, questioning authority, and finding hope not in gods or institutions, but in each other. To celebrate the 25th anniversary, Square Enix launched a commemorative website with new merchandise, art book like the Final Fantasy X 25th anniversary visual art book, Eternal Spira, and momentary museum in Tokyo planned for September 2026. And high-definition remaster of the game and its sequels also coming to the Nintendo Switch 2, and while fans continue to buzz around rumors of a full-blown remake, for now the company is focused on celebrating the original's legacy. And what a legacy it is. Final Fantasy X remains a masterpiece, a game that purposely captured the moment in time while telling a story that is and forever will be timeless. It was more than just a game, it was our story, and it was a story worth listening to.